Hello everyone, I am Srinath, the Polity faculty at IAS Baba. In this short video, we'll be discussing about the importance of polity as a subject for the prelims and how to tackle the questions in UPSC prelims when it comes to the polity as a subject. So coming to the polity as a subject and its importance in the prelims. On an average, the questions have always remained between 15 to 20 and it has reduced as well. So if you see this graph, so in the last 6 to 7 years, if you see the graph, in 2017, we had one of the highest number of questions from polity, which is 22, and later it reduced to 13, then it maintained to 13 in the next year in 2019, then it started increasing. Last year in 2022, it again reduced to just 10 questions, and this year, UPSC prelims, which was conducted in the month of May. So we have up to 17 questions. There is actually and doubt whether it is 15 or whether it is 18, because there are 2 to 3 questions which overlap the current affairs, but it has an tend to the polity as a subject. So on an average, I have kept it as 17. So do not take this as the only number. So it is somewhere between 15 to 18. So the importance of this 15 to 18 questions will drastically increase your marks. But over a period of time, the kind of questions which are asked in the UPSC polity as a subject have changed leaps and bounds. There was a time where if you just refer to one book called Lakshmikant, you could have attempted all the polity questions and got more than 90% right. But if you take the polity questions in last 2 to 3 years, majority of the questions have become too analytical and too subjective for majority of the people, where it is becoming very, very difficult, and it is almost on the lines of history as a subject, where the toughness of the questions have increased. So in IAS Baba, there is a program called PEP, Prelims Exclusive Program, where in this program, we will be helping the aspirants to try to analyze as many questions as possible, try to analyze the entire polity as a subject, and give a brief idea on how to tackle any type of questions which comes in the UPSC prelims paper. So under that, let us take the materials which will be used under this PEP program to conduct the classes. See, in detail about this PEP program, I will be explaining at the last, but what all will be covered in that PEP program from the polity as a subject. So we will be covering these many things, which is the first one, NCERTs. So the NCERT 11th and 12th will be part of your classes and part of the VAN, which is called value added notes, and the handouts which will be given on the daily basis. Then of course the Lakshmikant book called the Bible of the polity as a subject for UPSC aspirants. Next, the Constitution of India bare acts. So now a question comes, why Constitution of India? See, the other things you might be familiar about, but why Constitution of India? If you see the UPSC paper in last 2 to 3 years, the kind of questions which are being asked, so unless you don't know the Constitution of India bare acts, you will not be able to answer, and those things are not covered in even in the Lakshmikant or the NCERT for instance. So the next is the newspaper, very, very important when it comes to polity as a subject for UPSC prelims. Then the e-books of different ministries. See, we will be including only important ministries and not everything will be possible. But in the other subjects by my colleagues, like be it economics, be it history, be it science and tech, so they will be covering from their perspective. So those which are important from the polity perspective, that will be covered. Then the FAQs of the central ministries, even those will be added, not everything, but those which we think as the subject expert that is important for the students to know for the upcoming prelims 2024. And the last part will be India yearbook. So these are the materials, or these are the things which will be taken as a reference for the class, for the value added notes and for the handouts, and even the tests will be prepared on the similar lines in the class part. So the next, When it comes to polity, as I said few seconds before, that at one point of time polity was considered to be the easiest among all the subjects, but now if you see, the number of questions which become right from the polity is almost between 40 to 45, which is a drastic decrease in terms of the toughness of the polity questions. So why does this happen? So the first part among that is the overconfidence among students, because majority of them, if you see those who are appearing for prelims, so they will have a mentor or they will have a subject faculty, or they would have given several attempts, probably those giving from 2019 or 2020. So they take this particular paper for granted, thinking, yeah, it's okay, it's just polity, it is very easy paper, just read Lakshmikant or brush through Lakshmikant and you will be able to get all the questions correct. That is not the scenario presently. The other name for UPSC is Unpredictable Service Commission. Same way, the kind of questions which are coming in polity is becoming unpredictable. One. Second thing, when it comes to polity as a paper, the UPSC has gone one step ahead and they are asking questions in such a way which is not even part of your Lakshmikant book or not part of the general polity. For example, if you take the last year question, there were several questions for which the Lakshmikant had not covered. One question here was about the due process of law. Nowhere the explanation of due process of law is mentioned. Just your normal books or the subject books for polity, the Lakshmikant and all, mentions that the due process of law was taken from the US Constitution. But how? What is the meaning of it? So all these comes under the administrative law, which only a law graduate would have studied. So what is this due process of law, etc. So the kind of questions which are being asked are more or different than what was being asked till 2020. So the toughness has increased leaps and bounds. So do not take this overconfidence into your mind when it comes to polity as a subject. The kind of concentration you give for any subjects, be it history, be it economics, or be it geography, the same amount of seriousness is required for polity. Next, too much thinking in the exam hall. So there is one more question which came in 2022. So it asked which of the terms best defines the state, and there were 4 options. 90% of them had got this particular question wrong. The right option back then was, the option was A, but majority of them had marked B. Why? Because the question was very simple. Which of these terms explain, or which of the following explains the term called state? So it is just asking the term called state. But the option B was something which was about the ideal state. But UPSC question was very clear. It was just the term state, not the term ideal state. So then the overthinking which happens in the exam hall will definitely affect your chances of getting the right score. And one more example if I have to give here. I think way back in 2015 and 2016, there was a question on who among the following is the real executive of India. So the real executive, for someone who knows about the political landscape and who knows about how the country's polity works, immediately he will say it is a prime minister, because he is the de facto head of the country. He rules and he is the one who decides even who should become the president of the country. But as per the constitution, Article 52 of the Indian Constitution establishes the office of President of India, and Article 53 says all the powers of the Union executive lies with the Honorable President. So he is the real executive. But the overthinking will make you think, no, he is just the common term used, which we shouldn't use for the Honorable President, who is also the first citizen of the country. We use it as rubber stamp, because the real power lies with the Prime Minister of India, because he is called the de facto head. So this too much of thinking is also very harmful when it comes to the polity paper. Next, lack of conceptual clarity. So now what is this lack of conceptual clarity? See, when it comes to polity, what majority of the students do is they read the Lakshmikant and they just scan through. They don't go in detail because the belief till date was, do not do research on polity paper, and you are not here to do some research. So just understand the concepts and move forward. That particular notion was broken by the UPSC in this particular year prelims, that is 2023 prelims. There was a question about the election of the Indian president and the percentage of shares between the seats among different states. This, just by one look of the Lakshmikant, wouldn't have helped you unless you did not go in detail to even check the graph which was given in the Lakshmikant on the percentage of the votes or the value of the votes of the MLAs of each state, where an MLA from Arunachal Pradesh will have a different value, an MLA from Karnataka, my state, will have a different value, an MLA from Delhi, New Delhi, even though it is an union territory, so the value of one MLA's vote from New Delhi will be different. So all this were mentioned in the graph in the Lakshmikant, which till date was neglected. So unless you have that conceptual clarity, you couldn't have answered that particular question. Next, too much of guesswork. See, Indians, most of the times what happens is we have this mindset that why to leave something unattended? Let's give an attempt. If the answer becomes right, it's right, I get 2 marks. But in UPSC, there is negative marking. It is a minus 0.67. That majority of them do not concentrate because in their schools, in their colleges, negative marking did not exist. But here, yes, it does. So even there are many people who, believing several videos available in the YouTube, will go for something called an elimination method. See, elimination method or technique will work when you have conceptual clarity and when you are able to eliminate majority of the options. It does not work in guesswork, where out of 4 options, you just can eliminate 1 option and you are not sure about the rest 3. In that, you go for a guesswork, it is you yourself are digging your grave. So do not do that in UPSC. Next, lack of proper newspaper reading. So what is this proper newspaper reading? As I said before, the due process of law. So the Lakshmikant or the NCERTs just mention about that. And I also said that it was an administrative law topic. So now it does not mean while preparing for polity you take up your law books or you ask your LLB friends and you take their books. No, that is not necessary. But in the newspaper, every now and then, what happens is when it comes to the judgments of the Supreme Court uses this particular doctrine called doctrine of due process of law. Why? I will give you a small instance here. Under Article 142 of the Indian Constitution, the Honorable Supreme Court has the power to issue the orders which will have the power of implementation. So that is a deviation from your CPC and CRPC, the Common Procedure Code and the Criminal Procedure Code. So what does the Supreme Court do then? So it uses this particular doctrine of due process of law and passes an order by overruling the verdicts of the high courts or any other subordinate judiciary. So in the newspaper it comes. So when you have the habit of reading newspapers properly, the way which it should be read, then you would have heard this term very common. Then what would happen when you don't know the meaning? You will refer to the internet, and it is the moment you type in the Google, you will get an answer to it. Then you could have got the right answer. So like this, there are several questions like the philosophy of the Indian Constitution. So all these things are the terms used by your judiciary very often. See, not many have the habit of watching what is happening on the Sunset TV when the parliamentary sessions are happening. But the judiciary keeps using it. Why? During the interpretation of the statute, that is for your judicial review, Article 13 and Article 136 of the Indian Constitution. So proper reading of newspaper is important. In the PEP program, we also routinely take sessions on how to read the newspapers. The toppers come and explain on how to read the newspaper, what should be taken note of, what should be ignored. So majority of them, what they do is they just refer to editorial. That might help you in your mains, but it will not help you in your prelims to majority of the extent. Even during your mains for introduction and conclusion, if you read the newspaper properly, it is going to fetch you that brownie points which will decide whether you are going to the interview or not as well. So these are some of the reasons. See, this might not be true for everyone, or all the points might be true for some. So kindly do not do any of the mistakes here and try to take the polity as a paper very seriously. So next, how to master polity. See, till now I have told the loopholes which the students have and the other things, but now how to master this particular polity. So it is just the reverse of whatever was in the previous slide. One, build a strong foundation. How do you build the strong foundation? Your NCRTs, your Lakshmikant book. So read it word by word, line by line. There are many people who have referred to it for more than 50 times, and when they are doing it for the 51st time, still they will find something new. That does not mean that I am asking you to do that much of time. If you give only for polity, what will you do for the other subjects? But try to do it as much as possible, and even if you are doing just for second or third time, do with full focus, full concentration, and not through distraction. That is my humble request from the institute side. Next, you need to have conceptual clarity. You read a paragraph or you read a line. Let us take the simple example of the election of the Indian president. How does it happen? Who all take part in it? Who don't take part in it? So who don't take part in it? The nominated members from the Rajya Sabha, and till recently we had Lok Sabha as well, but after the 104th constitutional amendment, that is no more there. So that was removed, the Anglo-Indians part. So these people don't take part. But when it comes to the removal, the nominated members also take part. Then coming to the election, how does it happen? How is the value of vote of each MP and each MLA calculated? And which particular census decides the population of that particular state? So all that you need to go in depth. There was a time when they said do not do research, but now UPSC is asking you, or it is pushing you to do that thing. Unless you have this conceptual clarity, you cannot answer the particular questions. Next, revising the Constitution of India, Bare Acts. So now what is this Bare Acts? Many people might be confused. It is a law term. So it means there is a book where only the Constitution of India acts are mentioned. There is no explanation for it. So do not go to your MP Jain books or Calcutta publishers books where the entire book is probably more than 1400, 1500 pages. There is a small book, probably I don't want to pick up the names of any authors. So if I have to name one, I would rather say go to the nearest district court or any high court you have and ask for the Constitution of India Bare Acts book. You'll get it for 45 rupees or 50 rupees. And it is a very small book, probably of 45, around 100 pages, so which will be helpful to you. All the schedules until the recent 105th Constitution Amendment and all 395 articles of the Indian Constitution are mentioned there. The last number of the Indian Constitution article is 395. The real number is different. So the last number is 395. Clear? So do not get confused when I'm saying article 395. So does that mean that is the last number? No, there are several articles like article 21, article 21A. There is addition. Article 51A, there is an addition. So by this, the number goes up to article 456. Clear? So read that book at least once or twice, because you can expect a question like, according to the Constitution. So how will you know what is there in Constitution or not unless you don't do this? Even in the 2023 paper, there was a question on particular schedule of the Indian Constitution about the amendment, article 366 of the 368 of the Indian Constitution. So all this are mentioned in your Constitution of India book. So kindly refer to it. So next, the newspaper, how to do it, I explained in the previous slide. So kindly refer to, go back to a few minutes if you still have some important doubts in that. Then in the classroom, definitely we'll be discussing on that part as well. So next, the important constitutional amendments. See, remembering all 105 constitutional amendments is impossible. But there are certain constitutional amendments which are very, very important, like Article 40, like Amendment 42, Amendment 44, Amendment 73, Amendment 74, Amendment 97, Amendment 100 and Amendment 101. So all these things are very important. So you will have to refer to them in the class. While taking the subject in detail, I'll be explaining about those amendments and why they are important as well, and what all amendments are important. Even that will be explained. Next, the recent Supreme Court judgment. So as of today, if I have to say, there was a judgment regarding the same-sex marriage. So it was a 5-bench. So where the Honorable Chief Justice of India and his brother judge were part of the accepting part, and the dissent was given by the 3 judges. So in the majority 3:2, the same-sex marriage is not recognized as of now in India, and they have left it to the legislative part. So these are very important. In the UPSC prelims, a question can come about that regarding the recent Supreme Court judgments, be it the committee which will comprise for selection of the Chief Election Commissioner of India. So all these things you will have to remember. Clear? So this is part of your current affairs. So this is what we will be doing in the program. So in small, if I have to say in a snippet about this particular program, which is prelims exclusive program, starting from November 6th, both offline and online. So daily there will be 3 hours of class, which can be extended as well, and there are 14 classes in total for polity as a subject. So, and different subjects have different, like you have history which goes up to 20 classes, then you have economics which goes up to 15 to 16 classes. So these ways it is different. So polity will be in total 14 classes. You will have daily tests along with a detailed explanation on those particular tests. Then you will have subject experts as mentors. After you give your test, you have any doubt, you can go to the mentor. If you are online, the mentor is available online either through WhatsApp or through emails, or if you are taking an offline discussion or attending offline classes, then you can go to the mentor sitting in Delhi, Bangalore, Bhopal, Lucknow, wherever you are, because we have centers in these places. You can go and approach them. Next, you will have general mentorship as well. And from time to time, you will have UPSC toppers who will come and try to take some sessions for you. So the exact number of sessions and what will be decided from time to time. Clear? Because it depends also on their availability, because majority of them will either be in the foundation program, or after the completion of foundation program, they will be in their particular trainings part, either in Labasna or Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Academy. So from time to time, we will try to arrange them. Clear? Next, library facilities and interaction with the toppers. So most of the times what happens is, in the IAS Baba library, especially in Bangalore, we have several toppers who have got different cadres and who have got different services, like the revenue service, police service, accounts and auditing service, etc. And they are trying for bettering their rank. So even they are part of our library. From time to time, you will get a good peer group where you can sit and you can discuss among yourself. So these are all the highlights of the PEP program, which will be starting both offline and online from 6th of November. Thank you. Meet you in the class.